elders and coach elders. I was asked to do the history from 1971 to 1974 of the Edith Irby Jones MD chapter of the Student National Medical Association at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. All this history and more can be found at the Historical Research Center of the UAMS main library. This side of the room, you can't see the picture over here. There's a picture of the first picture of the members of the Dr. Edith Irby Jones chapter at UAMS. Some of you might know them, but I would like to thank the chapter for giving me an opportunity to give the history as the founder and first president. The SNMA was founded in 1964 as a national organization of medical students and interns. In preparing this history, I contacted each of 7 charter members of the chapter of the SNMA for the input and counsel. I also spoke to the late Dr. Philip Rayford, the late Mr. Bill Balknight, and the late Dr. Raymond Miller, and Dr. Elders. Dr. Elders was the first faculty advisor of the Edith Irby Jones MD chapter of the SNMA. How it happened is that in the fall of 1971, the late Dr. Patricia Newton, a former UAMS student and Little Rock native and psychiatrist in Baltimore, Maryland, contacted me in the early fall of 1971 and informed me of the existence of the SNMA. She was a student then at Washington University College of Medicine in St. Louis, and she mailed me materials necessary to form an SNMA chapter here at UAMS. I then contacted all 7 of the African American medical students on campus at the time and called the first meeting of the chapter in my room on the 5th floor of what was then the UAMS residence hall. It's since been demolished. Since Dr. Sterling Williams was the highest ranking African American medical student at the time, I asked him if he wanted to be president of the new group. He nominated me and I was elected the first president. Dr. Paul Smith was the first vice president. Dr. Tommy Love was elected as secretary. He's still in practice here in Little Rock. Dr. Linda McDade Parker was elected as the treasurer first, and she is still practicing at the state hospital. Our other charter members were Dr. Sterling Williams, Dr. Herman Farrell, and Dr. Ishmael Reed. Next, I called Dr. Jones, Dr. Edith Irby Jones, and asked her for permission to use her name for our chapter. She sent her written consent to me, and of course, Dr. Edith Irby Jones is the first Black person to be admitted to and graduated from the University of Arkansas Medical College. She was also the first African American student to graduate from a predominantly white Southern medical school. Southern being defined as one of the states of the old Confederacy. She was admitted in 1948 and she graduated in 1952, 5 years before the Little Rock Central High School desegregation controversy in 1957. Dr. Jones later became the first female president of the National Medical Association. The student newspaper at UAMS was called the Medico. They have since discontinued the Medico from being printed. But anyway, in the February 1972 issue, they gave us a front page article. If Ms. Ward, you could show the front page article from the Medico. This is a reprint announcing the formation. That's it's next. They're a reprint of the formation of the, about the formation of the SNMA at UAMS. And the only error in the article is where it lists the graduation date of Dr. Edith Irby Jones is 1948. She actually was admitted in 48 and graduated in 1952. They had it turned around. Now, in March 1972, an article about Dr. Sterling Williams and yours truly attending the SNMA annual convention in Detroit. Yeah, there it is. And did not mention this by name, but we were the first two official SNMA convention delegates to attend an SNMA annual convention from UAMS. At that time, the national office paid delegates airline tickets and hotel room expenses. In the spring of 1973, Dr. Love, Dr. McVeigh Parker, and I attended the 9th SNMA annual convention in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And of course, the organization paid for our airline tickets and reservations at that time. The Arkansas Medical, Dental, and Pharmaceutical Association gave us financial support, excuse me, which at the time was very much appreciated. We also had a record of service to the community because several of us, including Dr. Paul Smith and others, including one of my white classmates, Dr. Melanie Cable, and I assisted Dr. Roosevelt Brown in conducting sickle cell anemia screening tests in the black community. Dr. Roosevelt Brown was the president at the time of the Arkansas Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation. He was a dentist and oral surgeon in private practice, and he was also on the UAMS faculty and worked at the Arkansas State Health Department. He was also a former president of the National Dental Association. We also served our community by attempting to recruit more African American students to UAMS. And we did not have the assistance and support of a Minority Affairs office at that time. We went to, some of the members went to University of Arkansas at Fayetteville for recruiting purposes and also to UAPB. We had a record of teaching and helping one another. The SNMA members would share old test papers and quizzes with younger students, and we did that, especially if we had a good grade on them. We had to participate in a formal research project while taking biochemistry, and I remember I was in Dr. Elder's group, and she inspired us, taught us, advised us, encouraged us, and wrote or collaborated on over 100 research papers. The first banquet in honor of a graduating African American student was given in the spring of 1973 by the SNMA for Dr. Sterling Williams. He was the only black MD to graduate that year. We took Dr. Williams and his wife to dinner. The new Minority Affairs Office helped host the next SNMA banquet in 1977. And the administration established the Minority Affairs Office in 1976. And it was under the direction of the late Mr. Bill Balknight and the Dean of Minority Affairs at the time, Dr. Philip Rayford. And I'm glad to see you continuing it. I would like to commend the UAMS administration for helping to maintain the Minority Affairs Office. And of course now is the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So we've been through some changes. And I just wanted to say that at the time, the only two African American faculty members during 1971 and 1974 were Dr. Joycelyn Elders and Dr. Roosevelt Brown. There were no African American house staff members during that 1971 and 1974 period. Were there any other pictures that I missed showing? Okay, there's a later article in a different publication where we got together and presented the history to the School of Medicine. As I said, all this information, these pictures, can be found in the Historical Research Center of the main library. Thank you.